Okay, so good afternoon. We are the last group and our report is all about the Ifugao Indigenous Games. Ifugao, group of wet rice agriculturalists occupying the mountainous area of northern Luzon, Philippines. They are Malay stock and their language is Austronesian, as is that of their neighbors, but they have developed a number of cultural characteristics that set them apart. One interesting aspect of the Ifugao's rich cultural heritage are the indigenous games that are usually played using native materials or simply by the players themselves. These are the akad, bangunan, binuwot, bultung, guyudan or iinat, hanggul, tinalak, ugab, huktingan or kakait, punok, mumbayu, and mangiha. The purpose of these indigenous games evolved from resolving conflicts, situations among the clans or villages in ancient times to being games for leisure for children and as competition sport in community festivals at present. But years ago, it was a common sight in Ifugao communities for children to gather in their neighborhood playground to play their favorite games like buwotan. These are usually after harvest time. Akad, Hanggul, Iinat, and others. These favorite games of their parents and grandparents during family occasions aside from storytelling and chanting, although some games were still played to settle disagreements, especially land disputes. The uniqueness of the Ifugao Games paved the way for the recent inclusion of Punok in UNESCO's intangible list of World Heritage. While these indigenous games are no longer played regularly in daily life, they are still played during feast days, holidays, and at rituals in the province. As time passes by, there is a strain of loss in the interest of Ifugao children to play the games that their ancestors used to play. The capacity present of electronic gadgets and invasion of Western sports. This might also be because some parents do not have enough time to spend and introduce the games to their children.
The following are the games that Ifugaos used to play. So, the next game is the Guyudan. When we say Guyudan, familiar naman siguro sa atin, di ba? Um, the past last week, di ba, nilaro natin yung Guyudan, which is gumagamit tayo ng yung tali. Then, it says here, the olden days, the game was played with the use of piece of wood. Two players try to pull the piece of wood, and whoever is dragged away from his original position is the loser in the competition. So yun nga yung sabi ko kanina. Later, it evolved to the use of rope and become a group competition. So the next game is what we call the akad. It is a pair of steel akad, usually made out of any hard and durable wood of manageable weight and white protruding branch or nailed wood step on are used in this game. This akad, 'di ba? Ito yung pumapatong tayo sa what we call the wood na tataas tayo ng dalawang paa natin. Tapos, 'di ba, nilalakad or pwede namang tinatakbo. And so, the next game is what we call the hanggul. So, hanggul is not a hindi hindi iba sa atin kung ano ang hanggul. It is a familiar game to us. This game that determine the strongest man in the community, whoever wins is considered as the strongest man, and the village he comes from will take pride in having the strongest and in the community.
The next games of Ifugao is Tinalak. Tinalak is the Ifugaos are well known for their crabbing skills and talents. They came up with two-wheeler vehicles since mountain trails were built during the Spanish occupation. In choosing the perfect type of wood, the carvers go as they could together kalitun, tinalak, or in English, cart air or scooter. So as we all know that Ifugaos are they have their skills and talents in carving. That's why they made up doing the two-wheeler vehicles. The next game also is Uggob. Uggob with a single G literally means row, no shoot. In cases of theft in the victim or accuser, and the suspect or accused may agree to settle the dispute using this method and commit themselves to abide whatever outcome is. Binowot. Bowot spinning top is the name of the game. The original bowot was made from one whole piece of hardwood with no nails attached. The bawot of Hungduan and in Banawe differs. In Banawe, it is made up of pure hardwood called tapeng, while in Hungduan, it has a nail that enables the top to spin smoothly. It is made up of roots of a hardwood, preferably oak tree or a galiwgiwon. So, binuwot ng Hungduan is may pako. Pero doon sa Banawe is made up of pure hardwood called tapeng.
Bultung or wrestling. Bultung was used in settling land or boundaries disputes. When there are conflicts regarding ownership of the land, particularly in the demarcation of boundaries of two or more lots, the contending parties may settle their agreement through bultung.
Hinaktingan. The word hinakting or Royal Rumble is derived from the Tiwalu word hakting, meaning bump. This is another way in settling conflicts practiced by the Ifugao, Tuvalu tribe from Hapao, Hungduan that speaks or uses the word anoka. So each player bends their legs towards their buttocks and holds it steadily with their hands. It depends on the player's preference which leg to bend, but if the game requires them to bend the same side, the players need to comply. So using their shoulders, the players shove each other out of the circle, and whoever out loses. Also, whoever loses grip of his foot or fell off the ground loses. And the next is Punok. After the harvest in the communities of Hapao, Baang, and Nungulunan of Hungduan, they brew baya or rice wine in preparation for the celebration of the end of the harvest or post-harvest festivals. The Punok and Rest Day is declared in the morrow after the Hua reads. The Punok is culminated with a tug of war along the river banks between two parties. So dito, parang ito yung way nila of celebration after the harvest. Yung nagtatag of war sila sa river. And the next is Mumbayu. According to a legend, the luhib or mortar was first owned by Kabigat of Pa Adan, who gave it to Tadona, wife in Inyuk of Okyangan. They became the first parents of the people in the Kyangan. The axe and the bolo were used to make a luhum. The resulting is used to bound rice for the family. The availability of carving tools is later days made possible a luhum carved out from the big stones for better efficiency. Ifugao might stated that in the beginning of mankind. So dito sa Mumbayo, sa Mumbayo, yung ginagamit natin dun ay yung bulo and then the axe. Para makapag bayo tayo ng rice ay ginagamit natin yun. Yung mga yung rice na kinakain natin ay yung 'di ba yung yung palay is binabayo natin para may makain tayo. Dahil noon kasi is wala yung kasi noon, yung panahon, yung ginagamit natin ay talaga yung mumbayo, yung pagbaba, yung bulo and then the axe. Punok.
After the harvest in the communities of Hapaw, Baang and Nungulunan of Hungduan de brew baya or the rice wine. In preparation for the celebration of the end of the harvest or post-harvest festivals. The Punuk and Rest Day is declared in the morrow after the Hua rites. The Punuk is culminated with a tug of war along the river banks between two parties. So dito sa Punok ay ito yung parang way nila of celebration, yung nagtatag of war sila sa river. Mumbayo. According to legend, the luhib or mortar was first owned by Kabigat of Paadan who gave it to Tadona, wife in Yu of Kiangan. They become the first parents of the people in Kiangan. The axe and the bolo was used to make a luhong. The resulting is used to bound rice for the family. The availability of carving tools is later days made possible a luhong carved out from big stones for better efficiency. Ifugao might stated that in the beginning of mankind. So sa Mumbayo ay ito yung jay ngay agbaybayo iti irik nukwa yung gamit nila ay yung the axe and the bolo para makapag bari sila ng rice para may pakain sila sa kanilang pamilya.
Bangonan. This is a game played during family gatherings. Aside from telling stories for the kids, Bangonan is played by the gentlemen for enjoyment of the family. It was first seen in Banawi during the fiesta in 1996.
The last Ifugao Games is Mangiha. Wood chopping is a sport that has been around 400 of years in several cultures. In wood chopping competition, skilled contestant attempts to be the first to cut or solo through a log or block of wood. It is often held at agricultural shows, and the rules of the sport vary from country to country. So based on the definitions, mangiha is one of their game to cut the long black wood that is often held during the agricultural shows. So the first one to finish chopping the long wood, will be the winner.
So that's all our report about the Ifugao Games.